Okay, welcome everybody. Mid-Murray Council would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional custodians of the land, the Ngadjuri, Nangor, Nangaraku, Narkat, Ngarrindjeri and Paramount peoples of the Mid-Murray lands and waters. It is upon their ancestral lands and waters that the Mid-Murray Council meets and operates, and Council pays respect to elders past and present, and their spiritual beliefs are of continuing importance to those First Nations peoples of today. Council further acknowledges the contributions and important role that First Nations peoples continue to play within the community, and we extend that respect to any peoples in attendance here today. Should there be fire or other emergency, the alarm will sound and you'll be asked to follow the directions of Council staff. This is for the gallery. Council meetings are live streamed through the Mid-Murray Council website. Attendance and participation in the council meeting does not provide any councillors, council employees or member of the public protection from defamation in relation to behaviour or statements made. Individual opinions or statements made during council meetings are not the opinions or statements of council. A copy of today's agenda is available on the council's website. Members are reminded if they intend to move, second, speak or ask a question during the meeting, they need to clearly indicate their intention to speak by using the microphone system. It is important that members use their microphones appropriately so those at home can hear clearly. Members are reminded that the use of mobile phones during the meeting is not permitted, and I ask that you turn your mobile phones off or to silent. And public gallery, we welcome the visitors of the gallery and ask them to observe the meeting in a respectful silence as the chamber deliberates on the matters that relate to Mid-Murray Council. Council meetings are formal meetings that are subject to specific meeting procedures. This means they are designated sections of the meeting, deputations, etc., where members of the public can directly interact in the meeting, with the remainder of the meeting only providing the public with an opportunity to listen to the meeting proceedings in an observer role. I want to welcome today Laura, who is our new governance manager, and Georgia, who will make a statement when we start to become a councillor. Gary is on leave, and so we have Jared stepping in place today. So that is our attendance. And now we move to members' declaration of office. So Mrs. Georgia Warhurst will make the prescribed declaration of office in accordance with Form 2 of the Local Government General Regulations 2013. And we have Vicky here to witness that. As a JP, thank you.
Thank you,
Georgia. You just need the microphone.
Button. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Simone. I, Georgia Warhurst, having been elected or appointed to the office of a member of a Mid-Murray Council, undertake to faithfully and impartially fulfil the duties of office in the public interest to the best of my judgment and abilities, and in accordance with the Local Government Act of 1999.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Warhurst. And we have a full council again. Confirmation of minutes. There's a recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 18th of March 2025 be taken as read and confirmed. We have a mover, Councillor McGregor, and Councillor Barber is seconding that. Any discussion on that? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, that is carried. Declaration of interest. We'll just go around the room. Councillor Fletcher.
Yeah, I've got 12.5 Mid-Murray Heritage Maritime Committee terms of reference, and also 14.2 the minutes of the Heritage and Maritime Committee on the 13th of March, and I'll leave the room on both occasions.
Thank you. And I've got a material conflict of interest in item 12.7. The recommendation names me as the person nominated to attend the NGA in Canberra and can be seen as a benefit. I'll leave the room. Okay. So We've got business adjourned now, 6.1, waiver of reserved private moorings policy, river structure at Young Husband for B Mead and river structure at Swan Reach for Dynamic Dredging Proprietary Limited. The recommendation is that the report be received. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Schultz, thank you. Councillor Barber is seconding that. Councillor Schultz, would you like to speak on that or no? Councillor Barber? No. Would anybody else like to speak or have any questions on that? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour? And against, that is carried. Thank you. Okay, deputations. We have a deputation for home burial on private land. Sally Geffen-Jones and Paul Clarkson will make a deputation regarding a request for home burial on private land. Thank you and welcome. Just go to the end.
Thanks.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, thank you for hearing our plea.
I might just get the microphones on. Only one will work at a time, so maybe time it until there's all the.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get together. We have to be brief, and so we will get to be. We are here because we would like to have the home burial policy reinstated back in the Mid-Murray Council. It was revoked in 2021. And for the few of us who would like to be buried on our land, we would like this state legislated option to be brought back into the Mid-Murray Council, please.
Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. In 2017, Sally and I, along with about 100 other people, went to St. Cheriota Howe. She lived up in Cainton on a 3-acre block. I think it's a little smaller than that, but 3 acres anyway. It was a lovely day in the sense that we were burying rails in our front garden. And a huge hole was dug. And there's no coffin involved. It happened. Rails' sister, who deals in fabrics, Rayleigh was wrapped in fabric and carried down into this big hole. And the upshot was that Sally and I and our family, we live on an 80-acre block, we're very fortunate for that. And it seems fit and proper that we get buried on our own land where we've lived for 29 years. We've raised our 4 children there. Over those years, we've been doing what we can to bring nature back to the block that's been denuded for reasons over time. There's all sorts of little birds that now come to visit that weren't there before. And so, to be brief, that's where our heart and soul is, at Alty Mine on the Pine Hut Road. We're not religious people, so the local cemeteries are not for us. Most of all our lives, we've been trying to take care of the little bit of the planet that we live on. And so our energy uses, we try to keep as low as possible. I believe after making inquiries that cremation takes 800 litres of gas per body, and that doesn't include the power used then to grind, sorry to be blunt, but that's the truth, to grind the bones up. And that goes against our philosophy of energy use. It seems sensible and right and proper that we are buried on the land that we've given a lot to, as our children have, and will continue to, hopefully for a few more years. And thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
So to the business side of things, we have been negotiating with the council since about June 2023. I photocopied, you have them, our correspondence, so that you can read it in your own time and it gives you a bit of a picture. We didn't get anywhere with that, and so we were advised to seek some advice from the Attorney General, which we did. They do have the ability to make an exemption. Their advice back to us was, okay, guys, we would like you to go back to the Mid-Murray Council because they are reviewing their policies in 2000, well now. And just advocate for what you are wanting to happen. And so that's why we're here. I know it comes to costs about administering this home burial, which we have subsequently learned is actually very minimal from the council's point of view. The Barossa Council is one of many councils that does permit this to happen. They charge nothing. Most of the cost is on us. You have to get it on your certificate of title, etc. There's a visit from the council to say, yeah, the site's okay. And when, God forbid, the day comes, one of us is put in the ground, a funeral director does the administration for the council then. So our understanding is there's not a big number for admin. And the Barossa Council charged nothing. The Mid-Murray Council, I think, used to charge $1,000. It was recently revealed to us that if they did revoke or reinstate the policy, it would be up to £2,000, which we think is pretty stiff. I think £1,000 was too much myself. Obviously, we're more than happy to come up with a figure to with the administration cost. That's it, really. Please reconsider. For the few of us that want it, you know, we do put into this community in our own quiet way. We also give you $2,000 a year in rates, and yeah. The Barossa Valley, lastly, the Barossa Valley Council did say they might be able to help administer this if it's an issue for them, but you know that would take a bit of negotiating. So that's it. Please give it due consideration, and yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any elected members have any questions? Noting that we do have a briefing on this afternoon. Councillor Myers.
I had about 3 questions, but you've answered 2 of them already. The third one is, have you considered what happens when the sale of your land in the future?
Yes, we have, and obviously that's something we can't necessarily control. I think for the next generation, it is safely in our family's hands, and after that, well, so be it.
The only reason I ask is my wife is actually a funeral director, and she can tell me of a recent case where a lady put her husband's ashes on their block of land, planted a rose tree. She had a bit of dementia, so she was put in a home, and then when the family thought we'd better go and get Dad's ashes, well, the block of land had been sold.
Yeah.
And where the ashes were was a big shed with 6 inches of concrete over the top of the site. So I think there just needs to be some sort of forward planning.
Well, our 4 children have said that they're going to keep the block in the family because it's such a beauty. Peace and quiet is such an underestimated quality of life these days, I believe. And at home, many homes are out there. There's peace and quiet and bird life and like poetry and painting. Just not think about anything. The children have said to us, they're going to keep it in the family. In 20 years' time, who's going to care?
We'll be
Yeah,
hopefully
we're
some
not gonna
trees
be
growing on
complaining.
top of it.
So,
I mean,
hopefully
yeah, we
family will.
do realise it's not set in concrete, the access to it. But that's our family's problem, not your problem. Once we're gone, and so be it, really. But we'd like to be floating around our own landscape.
Thank you. Any further questions from the chamber? If not, thank you very much for your deputation.
Thank you, people.
I have 2 names of people in Cainton who would also like the option. I'm not sure who I should give that to, but
I will take it.
okay. I'll leave it here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Everyone, petitions, we have new. Corporate and Financial Services 9.1, monthly financial report, March 2025. The recommendation is that the report be received. We have a mover. Councillor Schultz, thank you. Councillor Barber is seconding that. Councillor Schultz, would you like to speak on that?
No, just
No,
keep doing the good work.
thank you. Councillor Barber. Anybody else would like to speak on that or have any questions? Councillor McPhee.
Thank you, Mayor. Just the section on the sale property, it's great to see it's progressing. Good on payment of rates, that's brilliant. And again, I was just wondering whether we have any idea of when we'll start the next tranche now that whole process is out of our hands and in the hands of others.
Right.
Just as an update for council, so BH Partners have been appointed, searches are being performed at the moment, and obviously gathering all the information, just getting legal advice on the standard residential and non-residential land contracts, because it's obviously not a normal sale, so we want to ensure that it's watertight. And it's proposed, there was a tentative date for the end of May at the stage, but it depends on all the searches and the information there. So there will be, leading up to the auction, 2 weeks prior to that, 4 weeks prior to that, there will be advertisements for those auctions in the local papers.
And the next,
I think Councillor McPhee's asking with the next lot, we've got $2 million of unpaid rates. When are we going to look at the next lot of people?
Yes, that would probably be in the new year. So probably in the new financial year, we'll start looking at that. So I imagine once we get the July rate notices out, and we've got everything settled as far as the long-term financial plan and the adoption, that would be on the cards to take up.
Thank you. And Councillor Myers?
Just a question for Clive or whoever. SADFAC funding of 349,000. What's the story behind that? Because in brackets, it's got grant not being pursued.
through the mayor, that was the Man Waters proposal to upgrade the Man Waters boat ramp. We entered into agreement with the developers to fund 20%, 80%. And at that time, the design wasn't compliant with SADFAC, so we went back and revisited the design. The job project blew out, and what we've had to do is stall the project because the developers couldn't fund their portion of their contribution. So that was a SADFAC grant amount. So we've written back to the minister and advised that we won't be pursuing that grant at this time, but we will pursue the grant at a later date.
Fair enough.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? I had one. I noticed the plant machinery renewal. I know we've got our asset management plans which tell us, when things are to be renewed. Are we also looking at whether we still need them at the time and proposing to come in council? I just saw the pool car moved and taken photos of the other day, and I thought, okay, they're not just going to replace it when the old mayor can't be the
Through the mayor, we are reviewing our plant replacement program. You might recall that we put a presentation up there in regards to, I suppose, diversifying, because the plant replacement program is a like-for-like replacement. So what we're looking at doing is we've removed the Toyota Camry, which was aged, and brought one of the Nissan X-Trails in, which has done 100,000 Ks. So we're actually diversifying and pushing them through the fleet.
wonderful little bit.
So through you, Mayor Bailey. Sorry, I'll just talk. To answer your question, we review and consider all of the assets when we're making those decisions, and move things around as required and to meet operational needs.
Perfect, that's all I wanted to know. The other question or comment, Clive, is we love how Dave does his report with green for new, and you keep reading out the bus, and I thought, oh, that's been there for 5 months. Is there any chance we could get green for new comments in the finance report so we can just look through and notice any big changes? I'm happy to you take that on notice if it's easy enough. But we do love we do love Dave's report.
We love Dave. So just to clarify through you, Mayor Bailey,
the report or the attachment or?
Well, all of it, on page 31 in particular, which always comes up the same, if that could just have the new, so it'll highlight it, that would be great. Any further questions? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, it is carried. 10.1, our favourite report, infrastructure and field services summary reports. The recommendation is that the report be received. Councillor Myers is moving that. Councillor Barber is seconding that. Councillor Myers, do you wish to speak on that?
No.
No? Any questions? No? Councillor Barber? Yes.
I've got a comment and a question. First of all, thank you for including Wombi Road in the report, Dave. So it gives the locals an idea of what's actually happening out there, give them an understanding of what the situation is. And my question is, East Front Road, Kawira, is council still at any stage considering what's going to happen with that section of road? Because there's a lot of locals there that really want to see that reopened at some stage.
Through the mayor, that section is as a result of the riverbank slumping, and I did do some reports. I'll probably provide an updated report on that to bring this council up to speed with it. We do monitor the survey levels, and when we did do an assessment of it in the previous assessment, there actually was still movement in the road. It's all to do with the drought when the riverbank slumping occurred, and I believe the LGA were talking with Dew in regards to the responsibilities to that area. And I think, just as a ballpark figure, I think it was about a $3 million exercise to try to rejuvenate that section of road at that time. So it'd be far more expensive than that now.
Through me, Bailey, I think we might provide an updated report to council, whether that's a briefing day or yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is more in the form of a comment, but I just thought it was really useful to see the number of townships that you're actually working on at the moment with projects. It's great to see that spread, which I know you plan to do, but it's worth noting that there's activity going on at Cadell, Blanchetown, Morgan, Truro, Cambrai, Morgan again, Cambrai Pool, Pernon, Cornermont, cemetery beautification for 8 towns, and Swanridge boat ramp and reshooting at Dutton. So it's just really good, because sometimes people feel that, you know, other areas getting work, and this is so clear that you're just everywhere at the moment. So well done.
Thank you. Councillor Hammond.
I just have a question in regards to the township cemetery upgrades that we're going to the 8 townships, but it doesn't mention here Nildotty. And I was just wondering whether Nildotty, and in our other briefing notes, I realised about our cemetery stuff, it doesn't talk about Nildotty being mentioned either. And I was just wondering whether we'd be doing beautification works in that town cemetery as well somehow, or in the future.
Through the mayor, when we went through the allocation of the LRCIP round 4 grants, we worked out where we could actually spend the money based on the priority of the towns, based on our hierarchy of the towns. There is a group in Nildotty that actually undertake a lot of work in Nildotty, and they're very proactive in the cemetery. Our beautification works are basically reveling, making it more presentable, a couple of seats, an internal wall at Swanreach and Tunkilo, and a shelter at Madam. So we try to spread the work around, but we can't deliver it to everywhere.
Any further questions? Comments? What have I got? Agree with Councillor Barber about the Wombi Road. I think that's a good result. It was something that council was very concerned about. So well done on the work there. There was a letter in the Manamaga letter to the editor, and it was sort of alluding to our financial position and saying that we'd made cutbacks in maintenance. So I just wanted Dave to confirm that we've made no cutbacks in maintenance, and yeah, why these people might be saying this.
In response to the mayor, there's been no conscious decision at this time to reduce any road verge works. Road verges are in many cases remain undeveloped, and it's a legacy that we have from now, that we have now, and the demand spread of infrastructure investment in the past. We're reviewing our efforts in service delivery levels and activities and to give a balance and priority setting, but we haven't adopted those yet. We're actually working through those at this point in time. And I suppose the expectation for this council will be very similar to like the other councils, where it's a joint responsibility between the owner, because it's all to do with property presentation. In response to just specifically road verge issues, you may recall that council's had some, I suppose, demands placed on it from the Manham Oval irrigation, the cricket club grand final, the Manham show and the rehabilitation that's had to go on, plus all the other focus on the other works as councillors raised. We work within our budget resources and priorities, and at the times activities are delayed or postponed.
Thank you so much, David. I do agree with Councillor Shotchick. I think your team is doing an amazing job considering we have 6,300 square kilometres.
That's just through the mayor. Sorry, I just want to go back one item. Nildottie is not actually our ceremony as cemetery, so it's not operated by us. So,
Oh, why is that?
it's a non-council operated cemetery.
Oh,
So we've got a number of different cemeteries.
okay,
Yeah, I thought that I just wanted to check that before I said that.
sure, okay.
That's another reason why.
Why we don't.
It was a hierarchy.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
not ours.
It's a fairly good reason for us not to spend public money. And I guess the other thing, I just had a question, there was a mention of the Adelaide Road footpath that due to budget, it was delayed 12 months. So can you just confirm that that just means to the next financial year, which might be 3 months, or is it 12 months?
Through the mayor, what we're looking at doing is, excuse me, what we're looking at doing is because the medical centre is linked up here at present, and a lot of gophers go through that way, they come off and go through the bus laneway. We were looking at putting a concrete path up through that way to link the medical centre. We've exhausted all the funds this year, so we're looking at doing it next year.
Next financial year.
Next financial year.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, comments? Anyone wish to speak on that motion? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, that is carried. 10.2, Bristol and Craft Fair, Collier Park Palmer major event application, and the recommendation is that the report be received, the council approve the Murraylands Gem and Mineral Club Incorporated application to hold the Crystal and Craft Fair event at Collier Park Palmer from Friday the 2nd of May until Sunday the 4th of May, subject to the general conditions of council's major event permit. The council waives the min hire charges of $300 and additional public convenience planning valued at $330 in line with council's event management matrix as support and sponsorship for the event. The CEO be authorised to make minor amendments to the event application as required. We'll have a mover. Councillor Barber, thank you, and Councillor McGregor is seconding that. Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak on that? No, Councillor McGregor.
No, I would to say it's a great little event. Well, not little big event, it's been going.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Shotchick?
Yeah, I suppose I'm just speaking a little bit on as a representative attendee at the Palmer Collier Park community meeting. Just to clarify that the lease that they hold is not for exclusive use of the Collier Park area, so access will still be available to residents and casual caravanners, is my understanding.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments, or anyone like to speak on that motion? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, that is carried. 10.3, SA Truck and Ute Show major event application. The recommendation is that the report be received. The council approves the Manham Progress Association Incorporated application for the SA Truck and Ute Show in Manham between the hours of 5 AM and 6 PM on Sunday, the 8th of June, 2025, subject to general conditions of the council's major event permit. Pursuant to section 33(1) of the Road Traffic Act, council declares that the event is taking place on the roads described below, is an event to which section 33 of the Road Traffic Act 1961 applies, and pursuant to section 33(1)(a) of the Road Traffic Act 1961 makes an order directing that the roads on which the event is to be held and any adjacent or adjoining areas specified below be closed to traffic for the period from 5 AM until 6 PM on Sunday the 8th of June. The roads are in the recommendation. Pursuant to section 33(1)(b) of the Road Traffic Act, council makes an order directing that persons taking part in the event be exempted in relation to the roads from the duty to observe the Australian road rules specified below and attaching the exemption. Rule 230 crossing a road in general and 238 pedestrians travelling along a road except in a wheeled recreation device or toy. Point 5, subject to the issues of the orders referred to in 3 and 4 above, Manor Progress Association or its agents and contractors be authorised to install and remove or cause the installation and removal of necessary and appropriate traffic control devices for the conduct of this event, with all costs associated with this to be covered by the Manor Progress Association. That council waive the road closure application fee of $570, in hire charges of $450, and equipment hire fee of $350 in line with council's event management matrix as support and sponsorship of the event, and the CEO be authorised to make minor amendments to the road closures and areas of display as required. We have a mover. Councillor Tochick McPeak and Councillor Barber is seconding that. Councillor Tochick McPeak, do you wish to speak on that? No. Councillor Barber? No. Anybody else wish to speak? Any questions? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, that is carried. 11.1, Development and Community Services quarterly report for the 1st of January 2025 to the 31st of March 2025. The recommendation is that the report be received. We have a mover, Councillor Myers, thank you, and a seconder, Councillor Davis, thank you. Councillor Myers, do you wish to speak on that?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Perfect. Councillor Davis, no. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Schultz?
I just have a question on page 77 where it says the compliance and enforcement officers continue to receive information and investigate illegal development. If a complaint has been received and compliance officers have inspected the property and have solid proof that the development is illegal, is there a fine the owner of the land must pay should the illegal development not be dismantled in the timeframe that they've been given?
There's certainly a process that they need to go through. So the compliance team would go through a stages of warning, and then the follow-up warning, and then they will issue a fine if that hasn't been removed. Then if council has to come in and remove that infrastructure, we'll then on charge that as well.
Does the fine vary in amounts depending on the size of the illegal development? Or?
I'd have to take that on notice.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe. If you can find out and let us know, that would be great. Any further questions, or would anyone wish to speak on that item? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour? Against, that is carried. 11.3, National Small Town Reinvention Conference 2025. The recommendation is that the report be received and that council endorses an allocation of $2,000 to promote and subsidise community attendance at the 2025 National Small Town Reinvention Conference as part of the 25-26 budgetary process. Councillor Schultz is moving that. Councillor Barber is seconding that. Councillor Schultz, do you wish to speak on that?
What a good idea.
Excellent. Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak on that? No. Councillor Myers?
I was just gonna back up Councillor Schultz's comment.
Wonderful, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on that? Councillor McGregor?
Yeah, it's all right. So it's
Yep, just through the mayor. My only concern was but I think it's a good idea, but the budgetary process, would this sort of fit into the community grants? I think I'm just my thoughts were community grants would support the payment of to let people go to that. Is that part of the conversation to be had, or?
I think the motion as it is that council endorses an additional allocation.
Okay. Yeah, that would be better to include in the community grants fund that we have, rather than a separate allocation of funding. Support.
Is there anybody else that hasn't spoken wish to speak on that? Councillor Tutchett.
Yes, just if the cost of the conference is $990 per person. I wasn't clear how the $2,000 was arrived at. Is that intended to be spread across all the people who choose to go? In which case, how much help will it be? Because it's not a cheap conference, although it's a long one. It's not a cheap conference for a community member. So I was just wondering, how we arrived at the $2,000 and how that will be distributed, and would we be better off saying there's 2 spots that we, if we're going to do the 2,000, 2 spots that we pay for, or I'm just sure of.
Luckily, Matt has arrived in time. For that.
Strategically, she was here for a report.
Through the chair, look, we don't know as yet. It will be dependent on how many energy companies also support what we're trying to do. So ideally, we would love to have 1 person from each of the new 9 regions. If we can make that happen, that would be great. We would then, if we get 9 applications and we get support for additional, and we can support them either subsidised or in full, it's all going to be a little bit hit and miss until we get applications in and until we know what the energy companies will subsidise. It may only be a portion. So if we don't get many energy, we've got 2 that have so far said that they're happy to support it. It hasn't gone through the formal process, but they think it'll be okay for $2,000 as well each. So we may be able to put $200 towards a ticket for 9 people if we get 9 people wanting to go, or we may be able to put $900 towards it. It just depends. It's going to be a bit of a process to work out.
Thank you.
So through the chair, so the intent was seed funding, subject to how many, obviously, nominations we get or expressions of interest. So we might contribute 200, another party might contribute another 200, and then the community might contribute the other, or the individual might contribute. So try to spread it out and encourage people to attend the conference is the intent.
Thank you. Any further questions or anyone wish to speak on that motion?
I just want one quick one. Will that $2,000 might come out of current budget or the new one, considering the conference in September?
Through Mayor Bailey, the intent is for it to be in the next financial year budget.
Yeah, any further questions? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour? And again, that is carried. 11.3, Mid-Murray Growth Management and Housing Strategy Draft of Public Consultation. The recommendation is that the report be received and that council, having considered the draft Mid-Murray Growth Management and Housing Strategy, attachment 1, item 11.3, endorses the draft Mid-Murray Growth Management and Housing Strategy for community engagement and commences community engagement in accordance with council's public consultation policy and the engagement tactical plan, attachment 2, and that council authorises the CEO or his delegate to make minor amendments to the draft Mid-Murray Growth Management and Housing Strategy as required. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tutchett McPeak, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Ward. Your name's in the minutes. Councillor Tutchett McPeak, do you wish to speak on that? No. Councillor Waters? No. Would anybody else wish to speak on that? Councillor Schultz?
I've just got a question. Why does the motion read as community engagement rather than community consultation?
Through the chair, semantics, yeah, I don't think there's any reason why that is, Councillor Schultz. We're going to engage with the community, we're going to consult with them. I think they're pretty much interchangeable, in my opinion.
People will probably have more grasp of consultation rather than engagement. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. We will have to reflect on that. Anybody else have questions, comments?
Just maybe, so through Mayor Bailey. Do you just want to go give an overview of the process? It's outlined in the report from draft. We've obviously briefed council, there've been consultation with the committee, and where we've got, just to give a snapshot of that. please.
Or Jared.
Sorry, Jared, look at Gary.
Oh, I don't know.
He didn't notice.
Through the mayor, yeah, so it's been outlined. We've obviously engaged the consultant. We've gone through that process of doing the initial community consultation, where we held the relevant workshops. We then held the workshop for the Strategic Growth and Economic Activation Committee on the 26th of March, where we also received further feedback. That feedback was then provided back to URPS, the consultant, and they've updated the current draft plan that you have, which is now, that's the final draft. It is still a draft, so if there is further feedback that you do want to provide, you know, we are looking at 28th of April to the 26th of March for that public consultation period.
Thank you, Jared. And other questions?
Yeah. Can I, as an individual, not as an elected member, put in some feedback on this? Because I've put a couple of things that I don't think is quite accurate.
We'll put that through to Laura, I think, as part of our legal training that said, no, we can't, but I'll put that.
We might take that on notice and
Yeah.
come back to you, council, sure,
Yeah.
to confirm that. Because obviously you make a decision on the end, in the end of the process, so we'll have that conversation on record.
And you can
Offline.
feed back that way, I guess, to Ben, as a elected member, is just feed back to Ben. That's not part of the community consultation, but there'll be a email going around that explains it.
Okay.
Any further questions, comments, feedback? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, that is carried. 12.1, conclusion of Share Award supplementary election. The recommendation is that the report be received. Do we have a mover? Councillor Barber, Councillor Davis, thank you. Would you wish to speak on that, Councillor Barber?
Yeah, just congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Davis.
Just the same, welcome.
Well done. Anybody have any questions on that or wish to speak? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, thank you, and very big congratulations, Councillor Ward. 12.2, outcome of council's item of business for 2025 LGA ordinary general meeting. Just with a show of hands, I'm just thinking that it might be better to seek leave of meeting and suspend just to have a discussion before, and then we go back into meeting procedures. So if everyone just puts up your hand if you're happy to, yes, thank you. Okay, who would like to speak? I think Councillor McGregor has some things to say.
Okay, yeah, just to the me. When this sort of came up in the rejection of our motion, I'm extremely disappointed that it hasn't been accepted by the LGA. I believe it's a really missed opportunity because it's significant, it's really time sensitive, particularly as we're going into a federal election. I mean, if you haven't had a federal election, it's still time sensitive, but it's a good opportunity to put this on the agenda of, you know, who's going to be voted for to know what's happening. It's not, I think that I feel that the LGA's had ample time to understand the intent and the urgency of the motion, but with due respect, I think they've sat on their hands. That this is just my personal thing. It was suggested for a workshop for the OGM, yeah, not OMG, OGM. And although that sort of thing is, you know, things are really good, it risks being a bit of a distraction because not everybody has to go to the workshop. So, you know, when down there people choose and which workshop they go to. So it's still not going to sort of put it any further in the mind. It's just like, yeah, we'll just do a workshop and then what's happens. And it's a bit too late to influence a national policy because all this has to be done at a national level. You know, and then also looking at, you know, just concerned that, you know, the LGA hasn't really proactively engaged with us as a council that have had our SCOSA report back in February 2023. I'm just thinking, you know, just feeling quite disappointed that there's been opportunities that, you know, they could have supported us. So, you know, and I've been to their webinar on their boosting finance, which I found a bit underwhelming as to the content of it, because it just sort of blends a whole lot of funding in not specific. It touched a little bit on the federal assistance part, but yeah, not so in much detail. Yeah. So I just sort of think that, you know, maybe we need to sort of ask, you know, what sort of value do we get from our LGA membership? And what do we stand to lose if we don't renew it? I know it's sort of not, but that just comes out of the disappointment of not having what we believe is, or, you know, what is believed to be a suggested good outcome, or just part of the discussion. No, it's just.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Arthur?
Yeah, I just wanted to also add that it's very disappointing to hear the outcome of the motion being put forward. And as far as them saying they haven't had time to fully understand, well, you've been very public for a long time about this situation. So I think there has been plenty of opportunity for them to actually, you know, reach out to the council or to yourself as mayor to get more detail and find out what's going on. Yeah, it is just very disappointing that they're not even going to consider it.
Yeah, and like both of you, I am very disappointed. I've clearly put an article out there based on my disappointment, and yes, I have been trying to fight for 2 years for financial sustainability, not just for our council, but for all most regionals. The SCOSA has assessed 49 councils so far, and only 24 have had a sustainable outcome. So more than half haven't had sustainable, they've had different forms of mostly or any other words. And I just feel that this should be a #1 issue for the LGA, and we just seem to just keep distracting and deflecting and holding things up. But yeah, anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, if we're going to look at how the relevance of being in the LGA, if we feel unsupported by them, I think we need to have a decent conversation around the pros and cons and the benefits and being in it, but because it is recognised at a state and national level as the voice of councils, which is tricky, but sometimes it's better to try and fix from within. Whether going to the level of a protest of withdrawing is something that we should discuss more, I think. And I also think we've got a new president that we supported, and I think it would be worthwhile thinking about asking her to come and talk to us about this topic before we decide what we want to do with our membership.
Anyone else wish to speak? Ask questions, throw over their head out while we're not in meetings. Councillor Walters.
So I'm obviously a little bit new to this, but what could be the next steps that we can take as a council to advocate further for us? What are the next sort of ideas?
Councillor McGregor has given a suggested motion to ban, which also include writing to them to tell them about disappointment. And yeah, maybe a request in that for the president to come out and have a speak to us. So the motion can be varied to include something like that. Anything else you wish to add?
On the stage. No, I'll just I'll just make one comment to Councillor Tochik. So council did consider the 15th of October 2024 last year our membership with a whole heap of information that's provided in that. So what's considered as age doesn't mean we can't revisit yet and potentially gather further stability. I think the request potentially for the president to come and have a chat, I think that's a good idea. To Councillor Waterhouse's question, we obviously continue to lobby and advocate. We will attend the workshop that's been scheduled. And it's important to get a feel for the sector as well, to understand what the thoughts of the other 67 councils on the issue, which is really, really important to us, but a number of others as well.
And I think that was the main disappointment, is that the board of 10 people got to choose for the 68 people, that motion didn't even get up to us, the 68 councils, what they thought. We've got 3 more minutes of our 10-minute suspension. Does anybody else have anything they want to add before we go back into meeting? If not, I think we can go back into meeting rather than sitting for 10 minutes. So we are back in meeting. Does anybody wish to move that recommendation?
There was some recommendations that the report be received. That council writes to the Local Government Association of SA expressing council's disappointment, and that proceed the proposed item of business will not be tabled at the ordinary general meeting. That we request an outline of the value and benefits of the membership and implications of council is not to renew its membership with the Local Government Association of South Australia. Third point could be that we write and ask the president to come to address our meeting. So we could do that. And then the next point is we do a media release sort of based on the issues of regional councils, the financial sustainability, which will sort of include reference to Viscosa and disappointment, not disappointment, disappointment or the 30% funding motion.
So you would like to move a varied
Yes,
variation to the recommendation?
Yeah.
As what you've just read. So I'll read it out just so that everyone hears it. So that the report we received, that council writes to the LGA of SA expressing council's disappointment that its proposed item of business will not be tabled at the OGM on the 23rd of May 2025, and requests an outline of the value and benefits of its membership and the implications if council is not to renew its membership with the LGA of SA, that the president of the LGA SA be invited to attend a council meeting to discuss the matter, and council LGA SA. And council distributes a media release on the issues facing regional councils in relation to financial sustainability.
I propose something for consideration through you, Mayor Bailey. Would you extend that invitation to the chief executive, or you would just like?
More than merrier.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Can I also just ask, are we going to invite them to a council meeting or a briefing?
Probably briefing. But yes, we'll see.
It's your motion.
Oh, yeah, a briefing.
Briefing, yeah.
Because then we don't have to wait for, premiere.
Yeah, and it'd be online.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we've altered, point 3, the president and the CEO of LGASA be invited to attend a briefing session to discuss the matter. Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Yes. Do we have a seconder? That's what I think. Do you wish to speak on that, councillor?
I think I sort of probably spoke enough, but just the intent of it, the disappointment and our benefit of the LGASA membership, our SCOSA report and that lack of support. So just all of that sort of bundled up.
Yep. Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak on that? No. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Toucher.
I just wondered whether other councils are aware of motions that are not put up.
Good question. Unless they go, all of us can go to the LGA website. We've all got logins so that we can see the agenda and minutes, but I would be very surprised if many people did, or if they read my articles, they know. But apart from that, yeah, it's not a public thing, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Let people know.
Okay.
I guess something to discuss when the president and the CEO come in. Anybody else have questions? If not, we will put that motion up. All those in favour? And again, so if carried. Council. Thank you. 12.3, additional elected member representation on the SA Rainbow Advocacy Alliance for the Rainbow Council Network for 2025. The recommendation is that the report be received and that Councillor Victoria Hammond be nominated as an additional elected member representative on the Rainbow Council Network for 2025. We have a mover for that, Councillor Myers, and Councillor McGregor is seconding that. Councillor Myers, do you wish to speak on that?
Oh, I'll just say congratulations to Councillor Hammond.
Thank you. Councillor McGregor? No? Would you like to speak, Councillor Hammond?
No, that's fine.
Excellent. Anybody else wish to speak on that? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour? Against, that is carried. Thank you. And congratulations now, Councillor Hammond. 12.4, request for leave of absence, Councillor Tochick McPeak. The recommendation is the report be received and the council grants Councillor Tochick McPeak leave of absence for the period 1 May to 31 May inclusive. We have a mover, Councillor Schultz. And a seconder, Councillor Barber. Councillor Schultz, do you wish to speak?
Enjoy your holiday.
Wonderful. Councillor Barber? No, anybody else wish to speak or have any questions? Feedback, Councillor Tochick McPeak.
There's one going there. Apologies, this is a conflict of interest. For me. So shall I add a abstain? Is there a vote on it? Sorry. Yeah. There isn't, just abstain from voting.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you don't, you could have. leave
I think
the
leave
group,
the meeting to the one that's saying, because you have to vote if you're in the meeting.
I will excuse myself.
Okay. Anybody else have questions or feedback? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour? And against, that is carried. Yeah. 12.5, Mid-Murray Heritage and Maritime Committee and Councillor Myers. You can use my office if you'd like. As declared a conflict of interest, the door is the same. The recommendation is that the report be received and that council adopts the revised Mid-Murray Heritage and Maritime Committee's terms of reference, version 2. Have we got a mover for that? Councillor McGregor, thank you, and a seconder. Councillor Tochick McPeak, thank you. Councillor McGregor, do you wish to speak? No. Councillor Tochick McPeak, no. Anybody else wish to speak, have comments, questions, feedback? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour, and against, that is carried. Good. Then we need to take a seat now.
big hand of the town, Jeff.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay.
Yeah, otherwise you're not gonna get. Okay, item 12.6, Australian Government Association National General Meeting, June 2025. The sorry. The recommendation is the report be received and Mayor Bailey, or Mayor Simone Bailey, be authorised to attend the National General Assembly of Local Government to be held in Canberra from 24th to 27th of June 2025. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Davis and Councillor Fox. Is there any discussion or questions regarding that?
Sorry, just the mover, who was it?
Councillor Davis.
No.
And then we get to give some hands.
Yeah, anybody else want to say? Councillor Hammond?
Oh, I just have a question. the last 2 years, Ben, we extended the invitation for you to go as well. I noticed that you're not mentioned in this report today. Is that because we feel Simone's had a few years to do it with you and that now you won't be attending this year's conference? Or that was just my question, whether you would be attending too, or whether we're just having just Simone.
Thank you, through Deputy Mayor, Barbara. Council doesn't have to approve my attendance because it's an operational budget decision. I'm not attending this year because I'm actually on leave. And Simone is more than capable of managing the attendance by herself. So we discussed internally whether someone else would go. From a staffing perspective, but Simone was comfortable attending by herself. So that is the reason I'm not going to Sunday Canberra.
In the last few years, we did have you on the, even though it wasn't necessary.
You would have noted that I was probably attending.
Oh, okay.
That wouldn't have been for approval.
Right, sure.
Our policy only requires that council endorses the attendance of elected members, especially when it's interstate.
That's what I kind of thought too, but then I just wasn't sure. Great.
Was there anybody else? Councillor Regan?
Yes, through the deputy mayor. I just wanted to say, I mean, each of these opportunities has been really beneficial for us in the last couple of years. I think even last year, I think the robust conversations that we had, I'm sure they get very robust, $1.5 million in the regional partnership program. So roll on what we can get this time.
Was there anybody else wanting to make any comments or any questions? No, I would just like to just say that the times that Mayor Bailey has attended, the networking, just alone the networking she's been able to do on a national level has been extremely beneficial to our district, and the funding was a massive bonus on top of that. So, all right, so we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? That is carried. That raised. Support your.
Thank you. Have a quick look. Thanks, everyone. Hopefully I can get another big grant award. Chief Executive Officer's monthly report. The recommendation is that the report be received. We're going to move it, Councillor Davis. Thank you. Second, Councillor Barber. Thank you. Can you wish to speak on that? Councillor Davis, no. Councillor Barber.
Yeah, just once again, good work. Keep it up. Thank you. Well,
That a boy? Is that a boy? Any further questions, comments? Thank you. And yes, Ben, you are a very busy man doing some great things. Thank you very much. We will put that motion up. All those in favour and against, that is carried. 12.8, motion action list. The recommendation is that the report be received. Do we have a mover? Councillor Myers, thank you, and seconder. Councillor Barber, thank you. Councillor Myers, do you wish to speak on that? No. Councillor Barber, no. Anybody else? Councillor Churchill, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. One was the transfer station sustainability review, I think is on the motion action list to come to us in May. If it is, I'd like to ask that it be deferred till June so I can be at that because it's really important to me. I don't know whether that's possible.
Through the mayor, we were planning on having a briefing session in May on it, just like on the visitation like we did last year, just to work out what the visitation's been like. And I suppose we are probably proposing to keep it the way it is, because we've got a roster for the next financial year as well. So, but yeah, I can bring it to a briefing session if you wish.
So the question is to defer it to, so the briefing is scheduled for May, is it not? Is that what your question is, sorry?
Yeah, it's on the motion action list. Yeah, I thought it was actually to come to council, but I could be wrong. It could be just a briefing.
Through the mayor, last year we did a briefing session, then did a report.
We wouldn't just go straight to a report, so If it's tabled, I haven't got it in front of me, sorry, so if it's tabled for May, then that would be a briefing followed by a report to council. Sorry.
That's the briefing midterm.
Yeah, we'll clarify that.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe through Mayor Bailey, has anyone got any concerns around if we did push that back
Yeah.
by a month?
My only concern is if there are going to be changes,
The financial
if the
year.
budget, like all of that needs to happen very soon. So
Yeah.
That's my.
Yeah, yeah.
concern.
Through Mayor Bailey, we'll consider, and if the timing is required, then we'll go ahead, but if we can push it back, we'll do that.
Thank you. Just one more item. Just wondered whether there's any interest among the councillors to have on the motion action list a discussion at some point on the number of terms of office for people on council committees.
That motion action is
Yeah.
just for motions that have gone through council, so that might be a agenda briefing. So we
Okay.
talk about
Forward
So
that
can I
when we-
request that? Sorry.
during the forward agenda of the brief.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any further questions? Anyone wish to speak on that? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour? Again, that is carried. Thank you. Sustainability report, and it should say 13.1, Standpipe Sustainability Service Delivery Options Update. I've got a recommendation there, but again, I've had a number of people come and speak to me about this, so I would like to check with council their thoughts on having a lead meeting and suspend for 10 minutes, just to have a chat on this first. So hands up if you're happy to have suspend. Yes, everyone, thank you. So we'll go out for 10 minutes. Okay, who would like to talk? Anyone? Councillor Maria?
Yes, anyone wants to? That's good. Yeah, so, even up to last night, I was out at, Rockley Purpose Association, so Rockley put in quite a few submissions and their concerns with the, Summerfield standpipe. Summerfield, and all the concerns. So, although they were really pleased that there was funding, and that sort of for standpipe, it just their confusion with what did that look like and when was it going to happen and all that sort of stuff. So they're a part of, as all of our farming communities are in stressed, they're sort of feeling that sort of stress, and then the energy regulator, which are going to have about 4 batteries within their cooee, that just added to their other stress. So they're just, yeah, they're in a little bit of turmoil at the moment. So they're just sort of wondering, what's happening, when it's going to happen, and to make sure that. So I just thought we put, I just suggested, maybe we sort of need to add to the motion a little bit and just, just give a little bit of clarity, what we're sort of doing.
Anybody else have any views on that? Councillor Schultz?
I guess we can't really give a definite time frame for things happening because it all depends on the second drought relief package from the state government. What the terms are in co-investment, what the proposed $1.4 million for the councils to upgrade their standpipe. So until we know what the funding percentage is going to be or whatever, we sort of, we've just got to keep it there
So
on the boil. And
the 207,000 that we've been offered so far is from a different scheme.
Yeah.
So the minister did call me and say, hey, there's an announcement coming tomorrow, but yours won't be included in that because we're doing yours separately. But obviously, there's a possibility that we can apply for some under that, but it probably depends on once we get this grant paperwork. So we've had a letter saying we've got it, but we actually haven't had a deed yet, so we don't know what that means. There are a number of communities that are really stressed. The Summerfield and the Stonefield are
everywhere.
there was a motion that went to council in November and it was 50-50 that their standpipes get decommissioned. So they're under a lot of stress. In December, we obviously did a motion that we apply for this grant funding, and there's been a little bit of release, but not much. And I thought last night with Councillor McGregor going to that meeting, be able to say, hey, we've got this funding and something will happen. And she said, they really didn't seem relieved because they still don't know whether theirs is on. You know, the motion in November said a cost of 210,000 to do 7 standpipes and decommission the other 5. So they're still thinking, well, you've only got $207,000. Yeah, so I guess that's where this discussion is coming up, that the motion today is just that the report be received and those communities are still stressing for the next month about whether their standpipes are going to be decommissioned or not.
And further to that too, if the terms of that grant PERSA money that's being assured, we don't even know what the if there's a time frame for it to be expended yet. So we can't sort of promise what we don't know yet. I mean, you just have to let it simmer. Is it, you know?
Well, Councillor Hammond?
Yeah, oh. Oh, do I need you or doesn't matter?
Sorry.
Yeah, so I guess I brought up a while ago, we talked about this, about the energy companies and their contribution that could be made to this. I wonder if we could maybe include in the motion somehow that we, after receiving this funding, do further conversations or write to some of those energy companies to say, look, we are getting government funding to help support this. How much further would you like to come to the table to help provide water for the communities that you're putting energy into those communities? I think it'd be a great thing to sort of push forward with that as well. I know that we're approaching about lots of different things, but I think this would be a really important step for them to sort of help reach that other level. So we could maybe see all of them automated or a couple of them closed, but the rest of them all automated and at whole expense paid with no expense to council, which would be great.
So that was part of the December motion in that we applied for the grant and continued discussing, and I've written to a couple of the energy companies and I've actually had quite, or they've been quite supportive. No formal process yet, but that's something that we'll follow up, and hopefully when another report comes to council, we'll have more guidance on what we have availability to get funds and what we can do.
Through you, Mayor Valley, exactly that is that further report to council will include hopefully some confirmed contributions.
Great.
As Mayor Valley said, she's had some really correspondence with them and they were generally supportive of the concept. Our endeavour would be to try to increase the funding pool to reduce subject to council's decision in a future meeting. Potential council investment in the automation, whether that's 7, 10, 12, whatever that looks like. But that information will be provided in a future report for council's consideration.
Still out of meeting, so we've got 3 more minutes. Councillor Myers?
Maybe we need to remind the government that with the proposed Northern Freight Route and the bypass of Truro, they can't build roads without water. And so keeping the standpipes and halfway house, etc., is a benefit for them. Maybe it's another card of the deck to pull out.
And on that, the halfway house standpipe's been quite, I wouldn't say lucrative, Dave, but that was utilised by a contractor when they did the Sturt highway upgrades, which helps subsidise the other costs associated with some of the others.
Any further questions just while we're out of there? Councillor Chotching.
Yeah, so do we just need to, just to reassure people, at the end of the discussion, it clearly states the further report will be provided to council for its consideration, etc. And that that current standpipe operations will remain in place. Do we think that people are worried enough for us to need to put something into the recommendations this meeting, or is that sufficient to say no changes are happening at the moment?
Feedback from the community is that the report we received is not enough for them to feel okay about it. That's been the feedback.
So I just think a little bit more information that, you know, that if a report does come, or a report does come to council, just looking at the automating the 10 standpipes that we've earmarked and possibly closure to the Twitter and the halfway house standpipe, and yeah, just just asked, whether we can sort of start on a process, if we get all that sort of go ahead, is there parts of the process that we can actually start happening so that the community know that it's happening. It's really there.
Oh, excellent.
Perhaps it's as simple as stating on the report be received, noting that the standpipe operations will remain status quo, and the community will be informed immediately should things change, or something like that. Just
Could we add in there that a report will be considered at the May council meeting as well?
Yeah, it says it in the report,
Yeah.
but if
This
there's
is what they said in minutes.
in the minutes,
Yeah.
to clarify the thing. Look, through Mayor Bailey, I'll come back to the question. You have to remind me what your question was. And it clearly will go through a process. We've only received the announcement last week. We need to get the funding deed. The problem is the funding deed may take a period of time. We chased the play our way funding deed for months and months. So there is concern and anxiety that is being caused. But you need to have all the information before you make a decision as well. So the report does clarify that, but if it's felt that this needs to be strengthened to ensure there's some clarity to the community about next steps, my advice, I wouldn't put anything to lock yourself into anything prior to receiving that information. But that's up to council to determine, but we do want to provide some clarity to the community as required.
Okay, our 10 minutes is up, so we'll return to the meeting. So would somebody like to move the recommendation or a variation of that? Councillor McGregor?
Yeah, so I'd just like to move that the report be received and that a further report be presented to the May meeting for our consideration on the next steps of the operation and the region standpipes. And including information on the cost to council of the automation of up to 10 standpipes and the potential decommissioning of Twitter and halfway house standpipes. In that report.
Mike.
Mike.
Okay, so you're moving what is on screen, that the report be received, that a further report be presented to council at its May meeting for consideration on next steps for the operations of the region standpipes, including information on the cost to council of automation of up to 10 standpipes and the decommissioning of Twitter and halfway house standpipe. We have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Barlow, thank you. Do you wish to speak on your motion?
Apart from just asking Ben, is there any sort of parts of the process that we'd be able to start in relation to the standpipes if we get a bit of a go ahead?
Yeah, obviously the funding deed is important for consideration, sorry, through you, Mayor Bailey. But we can, if there's some intent from council to go down a path, then we can start looking at getting quotes and tendering without going to formal tender to expedite the process, given the dollar values will follow our procurement policy and we need to go to open tender, I'm pretty sure. So we could start that process and we wouldn't finalise anything till there was a council decision. So, but we're very mindful this has been going on for a while and there's people want certainty, but we need council to decide exactly what they want to do before we progress it too far.
Councillor Barlow, you wish to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, it's great news that the funding's come through. Hopefully there may be some more funding on the horizon. And I wonder if it's just worth adding to the motion that things will remain status quo until that further decision is made, once we get more information.
Yeah. So can I?
Can I ask a
Maybe
question?
status quo be maintained and a further report be presented.
Oh, that's up to the, yeah, mover.
You happy with that? Yes, second, yes.
I mean, if, obviously we debated, but if the intent is that current standpoint operations to remain in place until any decisions on the future operations standpoint is made, which is the last sentence of the report, then I would add some further wording to that. But that's,
So you use the sentence in the report.
I would have it as 0.3. Yeah, it's up to the mover, but it's wordsmithing for you.
Absolutely, yeah, that's fine.
That current standpipe operations will remain in place to any decisions on the future operations of the standpipes that are made by council. You'll be able to debate the motion. Councillor Tosh, briefly in a moment.
So, mover, are you okay with the report we received, that a further report be presented to council at its May meeting for its consideration on the next steps? For the operations of the region standpipes, including the information on the cost of council of the automation of standpipes and decommissioning of Twitter and Master House standpipe, that current standpipes operations will remain in place until any decision on the future operation of the standpipes are made by council. You're happy with that, second, with that, okay, anybody else wish to speak on this? I have councillor Touching repeat, then councillor Myers and then councillor Schultz.
Thank you, through the mayor. I'm having an is it me movement. Did we already agree to the decommissioning of Twitter and halfway house standpipes? My preference would be that we finish the sentence at the automation, the cost to council of the automation of the standpipes, full stop. And then once we know the cost, we can then look at
Which one we decommission?
which ones we decommission.
So this is the motion right now, unless the mover wants to vary it, we can vote on that after all the discussion and.
Correct. So this is, if I'm wrong, this is a discussion on the motion which came. So your suggestion is that happens. That can't happen at the moment.
Okay.
Because you've made that point. I just want to clarify.
So that'll be a
something.
variation to the motion.
Correct, yeah. So this motion will be put at some point. And if it's lost, then you can propose a variation or a different motion. Just to clarify, no decisions been made on Twitter and Halfway House.
It's just a report.
But that's get that information in the report.
No, sorry. I think clarifying your question, councillor Toshing, repeat, was haven't we already, council already decided to decommission those?
I don't think we have.
Yeah, we haven't. That's what.
No, so I'm not clear why they're in there, that's all.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
We have not. You're right. We have not.
Councillor Myers is next.
So I'm of the same opinion, it should finish. Automation of no number, but just the word standpipes, because I think the words Twitter and halfway house in there is only going to stir negativity amongst all these people out there again.
So is the mover about to vary that on that? Which I feel that it's like.
Well, just to clarify, amendments to motions, 2 amendments allowed. A member who has not spoken to a motion at an early stage of the decision may move or second an amendment to the motion.
I'm not talking
Amendment.
amendment variation. How many times can we vary?
This is a variation to the recommendation that council provided, the administration provided. This would be an amendment to a variation. Yeah. So councillor.
Even though we've already varied it twice.
Yeah, that's the variation.
No, we got this a bit later. Yeah.
Sorry,
You
just,
can,
yeah.
Yeah, we've already done that.
yeah, no, you've done one amendment. so-
No, we've done it twice. So that last point wasn't in there and that's been.
Two amendments are allowed.
Oh, no, it's not amendment, variation. The motion has been varied, we haven't amended because that was a vote to move, you have to move an amendment, I think.
I think you do.
But we've already added that 0.3, so why can't we just, if the movement would like to just vary it slightly, that they can vary it before we go to a vote. Because that 0.3 wasn't there when Councillor McGregor moved that item, so we've already varied it, so I think we have to continue with that if she wishes to vary it slightly. Otherwise, we can put it to a vote and or somebody can move an amendment. Put it to the mover.
I mean, I'm happy to vary it slightly if I'm able to in the as part of the
Yeah, I think being that we've already done that, I'm happy to take that again. So the cost to council, the automation of stamp lines.
parks, yeah, and remove the decommissioning. Okay,
And
And the number
that's a
10.
number.
yeah, and, yeah.
Take that off and then yeah, up to 10.
If we're looking at if we can do that.
But it does the automation of stuff.
Instead of
Yeah, up to that and up to 10.
I think you're still going to be in the same place if you put the word 10.
No, get rid of 10.
Yeah, get rid of 10.
Yeah, yeah.
So the mover of the motion, you have the report we received, a further report be presented to the council at its May meeting for consideration of next steps in the operation of the group stand pipes, including information on the cost to council of the automation of stand pipes. Current stand pipe operations will remain in place until any decision of the future operation of the stand pipes are made by council. Happy with that, happy Mary motion? Yeah. With that.
Yeah.
Would anybody else wish to speak on that hasn't spoken yet? Yeah.
I was going to, I mean, someone must have been reading minds here because I was on the same page as Kevin and Mandy. I'm happy with that the way it is now.
Anybody else wish to speak on that motion or have any questions, comments or feedback? Councillor Hammond?
I do, yeah, I also am glad we've made this amendment, variation. Sorry, using the right words. In regards to decommissioning, if that is to ever happen on whatever ones might be selected based on this report that comes back, I would like to have some information in regards to how that looks for community to be able to take ownership of that. If we're not having control of it, doesn't mean that they're going to lose necessarily the access to those water areas. If we wanted to have farmers to have control of their own local standpipe. So that could be an opportunity that I'd like to see maybe presented in that report of when we're talking about automation, to also see like what decommissioning looks like for community if it was to happen, and how we'd be able to make it so they still had access to those waters in other ways of a community group taking it on as their asset or something like that, to be included in the report if that's possible.
I'm sure staff will take that on board. There was slight talk about that in the last report.
Yeah, great.
Any further questions? Would anybody else wish to speak that hasn't spoken yet? Would you like to speak to finish the item, councillor? I would just like to add, I just want to thank staff for, we did put a bit of pressure on them with a December motion and the grant was written by Christmas Eve. And a little birdie told me that the staff member that wrote the grant actually did that while they were on leave because they felt so, so compassionate about this standpipe issue for their community that they used their annual leave to write the grant for us, which I just think is commendable. So thank you to Dawn Stewart for doing that. So if there's no further comment questions, we will put that motion to vote. All those in favour and against, that is carried. 14.1 minutes of the Mid-Murray Council Assessment Panel meeting held on the 17th of March. The recommendation is that the report be received and that the minutes of the Mid-Murray Council Assessment Panel meeting held on the 17th of March 2025 be received. We have a mover for that. Councillor McGregor, thank you. Second, Councillor Schultz. You wish to speak on that, Councillor McGregor? So councillor Schultz, no, anyone else wish to speak or have questions, comments or feedback? If not, we'll put that motion up, all those in favour, and against, it's carried. 14.2, minutes of the Mid-Murray Heritage and Maritime committee meeting held on the 13th of March 2025. The recommendation is that the report be received and the minutes of the Mid-Murray Heritage and Maritime Committee meeting held on the 13th of March be received. We have a mover on that. Councillor Davis, thank you. Councillor Tochick is seconding that. Would you wish to speak on that? No. Anybody else wish to speak or have comments, questions? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, that is carried. 14.3, minutes of the CEO Performance Review Committee meeting held on the 25th of March 2025. The recommendation is that the report be received, that the minutes of the CEO Performance Review Committee meeting held on the 25th of March 25 be received. We have a mover for that. Councillor Barber, thank you. A seconder. Councillor Davis, thank you. Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak on that? No. Councillor Davis, no. Anybody else wish to speak on that or have any questions? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. 15.1, monthly mayor's report. The recommendation is that the report be received. A mover, Councillor Barber, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Waters, thank you. Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak on that? You don't have to.
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Everyone appreciates it. Good job.
Councillor Waters, anybody else wish to speak or have a question, comments, feedback? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour? Against, carried. 16.1, elected members reports. The recommendation is that the report be received. We have a mover, Councillor Myers. Councillor Barber is seconding that. Councillor Myers, do you wish to speak?
I'll speak on my own personal one. 28th of March, I attended LGA training in Adelaide, where I met Georgia for the first time. It was very, having been on council for 16 years prior, it was still great to have an update. The one thing that I did take notice of was 4 people from Adelaide Plains Council were actually re-elected halfway through because it was a miscount on all the things, and they were actually in attendance as well.
Wow.
So they're sort of there for a little term. But overall, the training was, spot on.
Here, and there's further issues now with the Adelaide City Council.
Oh, yeah, only one man.
No, they've just done 4, but they're out. Who seconded that? Councillor Barber, do you wish to speak? Anybody else? Yeah, Councillor Schultz, and then Councillor Schultz to speak.
At the Ridley CFS group meeting last night, the Cainton Brigade Captain raised his concern about the, since the Henschke Road has been sealed, good job, there's been a few incidents where vehicles approaching Cainton intersection with a stop highway have actually gone straight over without stopping and looking. Thank goodness no one was coming on stop highway. I think from memory that's those roads, Eden Valley Road and Henschke Road, have got a give way sign on them.
Through the mayor, yes, most junctions have give way signs, and we extended the 80k zone out to the north of Cainton some 12 months ago because of the residential areas, and we've actually been working with DIT to keep that road as an 80k zone. So we can ask DIT to readdress the giveaways at those areas and maybe go put larger signs there.
I'm just thinking maybe stop signs would maybe reinforce that you've got to pull up there.
I can investigate that with DIT. Normally they like the giveaways. So they can do exactly what they did out here with larger signs or larger targeting signs for 600 or 900.
I think
That may give more target value.
if there's something, maybe we don't want to see a provision there.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to note for the minutes that I wasn't able to attend the Computer Hall barbecue, which I hear went down a storm, but sorry to miss that. And just to comment on the training that Simone and I went on, the Institute of Public Works Engineering Infrastructure course, which was webinar based and home learning based. I think we both thought it was incredibly useful. So you've all got a copy of my little report, and appreciate, any comments from anybody, including yourself, Ben, on that's a suggestion that it might be useful for everybody to do some or part of it. Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Just an apology, I haven't got anything in there. I'll double up next month.
You did do stuff.
I think I did. I don't know what happened to that month.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, comments, feedback, wish to speak on that motion? If not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, that is carried. Motions with notice, Anil. Questions with notice, Anil. Questions without notice of a strategic nature. We have anything, Councillor Barber.
Yeah, through the mayor, my question without notice is I spoke to Tony Shepherd recently about the community transport scheme in the regions. And my question is, she said the council should have received a letter from Red Cross saying they were not tendering for the transport system in our region. So yeah, my question is, did council receive that? And does council know what's going on in that situation?
Yeah. It's very many value. I'll just take that. I haven't seen a letter, but even council haven't received it. We'll confirm that.
Any further questions without notice? All right. Confidential report. So I have someone to move that we go into confidence for 2021. Councillor Myers, Councillor McPhee. Any discussion? Not, we'll put that motion up. All those in favour and against, that is carried. So the next meeting is to be held at Manor Council Chambers at Lake Road Manor at 9:30 AM on Tuesday, the 20th of May, 2025. And I declare the meeting closed at 11:22 AM. Thank you very much, everyone.